Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Balak, we learn that King Balak of Moab is afraid of the Israelites, who are numerous and physically close. So 3 times he sends emissaries to enlist Balaam, a non-Jewish prophet, to curse Israel. Balaam refuses the first 2 times, saying God has already blessed Israel. But the 3rd time he accepts and follows them. On his way to King Balak, Balaam's ass keeps seeing an angel with a sword blocking his way and gets off the road. Balaam never sees it, strikes the ass every time and brings her back to the road. Finally, the ass speaks and asks why Balaam is hitting her. Here's the account in the Torah. Quote, God's anger was kindled because the prophet Balaam went to Balak, and an angel of the Lord stood on the road to stop him. Now he was riding upon his she-ass, and his 2 servants were with him. The ass saw the angel, his sword drawn in his hand, turned away from the road, and went into the fields. Then Balaam struck the ass to get her to turn back to the road. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, with a wall on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw him, it pushed itself against the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. And Balaam struck the ass again. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn to the right or to the left. And when the ass saw him, it crouched under Balaam. Balaam's anger was kindled again, and he struck the ass with a staff. The Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said to Balaam, What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? And Balaam said to the ass, You have mocked me. I wish there was a sword in my hand, for then I would kill you. And the ass said to Balaam, Am I not your ass, upon which you have ridden all your life until this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you? And he said, No. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. He bowed his head and fell on his face. And the angel of the Lord said to him, Why did you strike your ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to stop you, because you hastened on a road to oppose me. And the ass saw me, and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away from me, now I would also have killed you and let her, the ass, live. Unquote. Now we ask, what is the meaning of this story? Why is it there? It must be important because the Mishnah says that that ass was created way back at the beginning of the world. Quote, 10 things were created at twilight on Shabbat Eve, right after the creation of the worlds. The mouth of the earth that swallowed Korach, the mouth of Miriam's well, which accompanied and supplied the Israelites in the desert, the mouth of Balaam's ass, the rainbow, the manna, the staff of Moses, the shamir worm, the writing instrument, and the tablets of the 10 Commandments. Some say also the burial place of Moses and the ram of our father Abraham, and some say also the spirits of destruction, as well as the original tongs, for tongs are made with tongs. Unquote. The sages tell us that God foresaw some needed exceptions to his natural laws and created them for the proper time. So the talking ass was needed. Why? Let us explore together 10 possible reasons. First, God wanted to impress upon Balaam that it's really the all-powerful God talking. If he can make an ass talk, he must really be God. Second, the Midrash says that God wanted Balaam to know that God controls speech, even the speech of an ass. So if Balaam tried to curse Israel as he plans, only words of blessing would come out because that is God's will. Quote, This was done in order to make known to Balaam that the mouth and the tongue are in God's power, and that even if Balaam wished to curse, his mouth was in God's power. Unquote. Third, God wanted Balaam to turn back, but of his own free will. So he sent hints. However, this interpretation presents problems because the Torah tells us that Balaam was willing to turn back. Quote, "And Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know that you stood in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displeases you, I will go back again." But the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but you will say only what I tell you to say." So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Unquote. So apparently God decided he will not prevent Balaam from doing what Balaam wishes, just warns him that he is displeased. God tells Balaam, "Go if you insist, but I am most powerful. I can make asses talk, and there will be consequences." Indeed, Balaam was later killed fighting the Israelites during the war against the Midianites. The Torah says, quote, "The Israelites also slew Balaam ben Beor with the swords." Unquote. Fourth, God wanted to deflate Balaam's ego. Kli Yakar, 17th century commentator from Prague, writes, quote, "This was to impress upon Balaam that he should not feel proud that he has been given the gift of prophecy. If it suits God's purposes, even an ass will see angels and make speeches." Unquote. In the Torah, Balaam claims that he hears the words of God and sees the vision of the Almighty. God shows him that his own ass sees more than he does, as if to say, "Think you can outsmart me? You are not even as smart as your ass." On the other hand, Balaam does not seem surprised to hear the ass talk. He just answers her. Fifth, God downgrades Balaam in the eyes of the Moabite dignitaries who accompany him, to suggest to them that he will not be able to complete his mission of cursing Israel. The Torah says, quote, "And Balaam said to the ass, I wish there was a sword in my hand, for now I would kill you." Unquote. The Midrash comments, quote, "The ass was implicitly telling Balaam, you are unable to kill me unless you have a sword in your hands. How then do you intend to uproot an entire nation with mere words?" Balaam kept quiet, not finding a reply. The princes of Moab began to express astonishment, for they had witnessed a miracle, the likes of which they had never seen. Some authorities say that Balaam told them, "The ass is not mine, and I have no experience on how to control her." Unquote. Sixth, God wanted to teach Balaam that a putatively righteous ass is worth more than a crooked prophet. The angel tells Balaam, quote, "If the ass had not turned away from me, surely now I would have killed you and let her, the ass, live." Unquote. However, as a counterpoint, the Midrash says that the word "also" implies that the angel did kill the ass. The above phrase must be read as, "If the ass had not turned away, I would also have killed you and let her, the ass, live. But now, since she spoke and rebuked you, and you could not withstand her rebuke, as it is written, he said no, therefore I have killed her, so that people should not say, 'This is the one that silenced Balaam with her rebuke, and he could not respond.' This serves to inform you that the Holy One, blessed be He, has consideration for the dignity of mankind, and knowing their needs, He shut the mouth of beasts. Had they been able to speak, it would have been impossible to put them in the service of man or to stand one's ground against them. For here was this ass, the most stupid of all beasts, and there was the wisest of all wise men. Yet as soon as she opened her mouth, he could not stand his ground against her." Unquote. The Midrash also offers another opinion. Quote, "The angel killed the ass so that people should not say, 'This is the animal that spoke, so let us make her an object of reverence.'" Unquote. No idolatry. Seventh, God uses this episode to tell Balaam how much he cares about Israel. The Midrash says, quote, "The Torah says, and the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, 'Why did you strike your ass these 3 times?' Did the angel really come to seek satisfaction on behalf of the ass? No. In fact, he was telling Balaam, if for this ass, which does not have either merit or a covenant with patriarchs, I have been commanded to demand satisfaction, how much more so in the case of the entire nation which you seek to uproot, and which possesses both merits and a covenant with patriarchs." Unquote. Eighth, God allows animals to see more than humans, because humans have more understanding, and would live in fear if they could see everything. Rashi says, quote, God allowed a beast to perceive more than a man because a man possesses intelligence, and so he would become insane if he saw forces of destruction. Unquote. Ninth, the ass was important because Balaam had a sexual relationship with her. The Torah says, quote, and the ass said to Balaam, am I not your ass, upon which you have ridden all your life until this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you? Unquote. The Talmud interprets this verse as follows, quote, when Balaam was seen riding on his ass, the Moabite dignitary said to him, why don't you ride on a horse, as a man of your rank should? And he replied, I send my horse out to pasture. Immediately, the she-ass retorted, am I not your ass? Just for carrying burdens, he interrupted. Upon which you have ridden, she continued. Only on occasion, he again interrupted. All your life, she continued. Have I been in the habit of doing this to you? She added, what is more, I have carried you during the day, and I have been your companion at night. For the word I was in the habit, hiskanti, used here, is analogous to the word let her be his companion, sokenet, used elsewhere in the book of Kings. Unquote. The Zohar adds, Rabbi Yitzhak said, I marvel at the wicked Balaam, how all his actions proceeded from the side of impurity. He besmirched himself nightly by bestial intercourse with his ass, and he would then proceed to his divinations and sorceries. Unquote. Another quote from the Zohar. Rabbi Yosei asked him, who did Balaam derive all his magical practices and knowledge from? Rabbi Yitzhak replied, he learned it first from his father, who was also a prophet. Unquote. The Midrash also tells us, quote, the Torah says that Balaam had ridden this ass all his life. You may thus infer that Balaam was not an old man, since the ass was older than he, and asses do not live long. Unquote. 10th, the ass was a symbol of royalty, and so was a fit instrument for God's message. Kings Saul, David, and Solomon, and David's son Avshalom rode asses. The horse symbolized war, and the ass peace. When kings rode asses, they came in peace, not as conquerors. The Bible frequently mentions leaders riding asses. The prophet Zechariah tells us that the future Messiah will enter Jerusalem on an ass. Quote, behold, your king comes to you. He is triumphant and victorious, humble and riding upon an ass. Unquote. For that, the Talmud says, if one sees an ass in a dream, he may hope for salvation. Unquote. So we see that there are many reasons for this colorful story, each of which containing a useful teaching. Shabbat Shalom.